Hi there, my name's Darren from Ice and Oven Technologies, and I'm going to quickly take you through your new Merrychef E3 oven that you'll be finding coming into all your stores shortly. This is your new oven. The service technician should have placed that onto your cooking surface, and it should be plugged in onto your mains like so. If you have a large clip-cell plug, just turn the plug to the on position. When the oven arrives, you'll find that there's a number of accessories that I've laid out on the table here. So the first thing and the most important thing obviously are going to be your manuals and your operating instructions. The next thing there is a bottle of Merrychef oven protector and a bottle of K oven cleaner. So these are the only chemicals that you should use on your oven. The oven has a catalytic converter, and if you start using any other chemicals on there, you could cause damage to the oven over time. You'll also find 3 large round enamel trays like this one here that have a circular piece at the bottom that fits into the oven, and with those there's also 3 silicone mats. You'll find that over time with cooking that the silicone mats will change colour. They'll go lighter and there'll be dark spots in there. That's okay. Those are simply cleaned just by using hot soapy water. There's also a handle, and that's used to take the tray in and out of the oven. A cool down pan, which is for use at the end of the day, and then 2 rectangular Teflon coated trays. First time you come to use your Merrychef oven, first thing you need to do is make sure that the oven is switched to the on position on the large plug on the wall. The next thing you do is you come to the oven and press the rocker switch on the front into the number 1. The screen will come up with an icon symbol. You just leave it to go past there, and it comes now with 2 different temperatures on the actual control panel. What we're going to do first of all is start off like it was a morning baking process. So for the morning baking process we use the morning baking only setting, which is 190 degrees. So you'll see as I start to touch the screen, the oven will then start to heat up. Heating up process will probably take about 12 minutes. Once the oven has heated up, you'll find that the screen looks something like this. Each of these buttons here represents a category, the first one being pies. So if I wanted to cook, say, a pie, I would press the pie button and choose one of the items that is contained within that category. The best way to navigate your way around the oven is to actually have a play with the oven and just touch it. Now you'll see on these ones here that there is a red square around the outside of each of the menu items. That means that the oven setting is at the incorrect temperature. So in this case what we've done is we've actually set the oven up to do baking of pastries first thing in the morning, and therefore these buttons will not work. At the bottom here in shaded you'll see a return arrow. If I press that, that will take me back to the last screen. What I want to do is I want to find our bake off of pastries, which is here, which is the second column on the right hand side. Second column down on the right hand side. If I press that button now, all of these items, as you can see, don't have a red square around the outside, so we can actually use those buttons. So what we're going to do now is going to bake off some pastry items. The first thing that we're going to do, this could include your croissants, Danish pastries, that kind of thing. What we have done here is we've trayed up some cookies. So again, this is a frozen dough. All of the pastry items go into the oven from a frozen state. So what we'll do is we'll open the oven door and we'll place the trays into the oven. The round tray obviously goes onto the bottom and just needs to be locked into space. The oven will beep to tell you that the door is open. Close the door, and then we look for the item that we need to cook. In this case it's cookies times 12. We press that button and the oven immediately starts to cook. You can see during the cooking process there's a green bar that goes along the front of the oven. That tells you how much time is left. So the cookies that we placed in here now, I've got about 45 seconds left to run, and you can see the little green bar is there ready. So what you need to do is get your oven handle ready to go, so that as soon as the oven beeps we can remove the trays from the oven and place the cookies on one side for them to cool down. Cookies, probably the best thing to do is if you have a cooling wire cooling rack, is to place the cookies onto a wire cooling rack after about 2 or 3 minutes that they've been out of the oven, and that will save them sort of like flopping or bending too much by putting them on an uneven surface. So we're down to the last 10 seconds or so now, and you'll hear the oven that will beep. That's the sound that you'll hear whenever there's a cooking process that's finished in the oven. That's just a warning to let you know it's time to open the door, take the products out of the oven. So the oven now is flashing red. You can hear the sound. We open the oven door and we remove the trays using the handle and place them onto a flat surface. So the oven now has finished its baking process, and what we want to do is now use the oven for the rest of the day at the normal cooking temperature. So you'll see on the front of the oven here a small red thermometer. If I press that button, it will take us back into this screen here. Now where there's a star tells you the current temperature of the oven. What we need to do now is press the 275 centigrade, which is the normal temperature for the oven, and the oven will increase in temperature, as you can see by the thermometer. And again, that should take about another 5 minutes. Okay, so the toasted sandwich is just about done now. There we go, there's the tone again. So we just simply open the oven door, remove the product out from the oven, close the door and place it onto the plate. So what you'll see is obviously the sandwich is nice and golden brown, but it hasn't been squashed in the panini grill, and it's just a matter of cutting it in half and getting it ready for service to the customer. So that's basically the simple operation of the Merry Chef oven. It really is just as simple as placing the food into the oven, pressing the button, and the oven takes care of everything else. There's obviously some other major savings and so on that relate to the power consumption of the oven, but you guys will find that out as your power bills start to come in and so on. So at the end of the day, basically the oven is just as simple to use. What we do is we come over to the oven and we press this button here, the red thermometer, which is our cool down button. It takes us back into the temperature screen. We press the blue button again and it will tell us to place a tray of ice into the oven. So what we do is we grab a tray of ice, or we grab a container full of ice, and we place that into the oven to cool the oven pan down, which I'll show you in a second. So all we do, fill up our tray with ice, pop it into the oven. Now you may have a slightly different shape or size ice tray to this, in which case just place it onto the round tray. We close the oven door and we hit the tick. The oven now will take somewhere in the region of about 17 to 18 minutes to cool down. Once it's cooled down to 50 degrees centigrade, then we'll go through the cleaning process as well. So all you have to do at the end of every day is follow these simple ways of cleaning and cooling down the oven, and the oven should work perfectly well with you. There's no other preventative maintenance that's required. Once the oven is actually cooled down completely, the screen will come up with a white area that will say clean cavity. So what you want to do now is basically open the oven door, remove the tray of ice, remove the base plate, and then we start cleaning. So if you come over here, I've laid out some items that you need to do for your cleaning. So the first and most important thing is to make sure you're wearing protective gloves. The chemicals are quite safe to use, but obviously you don't want them on your hands for too long. Make sure you remove any jewellery or anything items like that as well, because if it does touch gold or silver, it might tarnish your jewellery. We don't want that. Next thing is you'll need a clean, damp cloth, a green scourer, some paper towel, your oven cleaner, and your oven protector. So we'll go back up to the oven now. We'll remove the tray of ice from the oven. We'll remove the base tray, and again the silicone mat just comes off here. That can be given a quick wash and a scrub. Likewise with the enamel tray, that's just done through the sink. And then the last thing that we can remove here is the round turntable. And what we do is we just wiggle that off, lift that off and take that out from the oven as well. The first thing that we'll then do is we'll take our oven cleaner and we will spray the inside of the oven cavity. Just liberally spray the inside of the cavity like so until you've covered all areas, making sure that you don't spray directly into the back of the oven. So we just do the sides, the top of the oven, and also just the main part of the door here. So now that's all nice and damp, we just place that to one side and we take a green scourer. Lightly, you don't need to be heavy-handed, we just rub over the door. Any hard areas, you just give it a little bit of a rub, and you can see that all of that dirt and grime just comes off quite simply. So it's just a matter of giving the oven a nice wipe and rub over with the green scourer to remove any burnt on particles. In between the shelf runners, and then lastly at the top of the oven here. So once that's done, we then just put the cloth to one side, we grab our clean damp cloth and we wipe over those surfaces. Once all the surfaces are all wiped out, what we need to do is concentrate a little bit on the base of where the door is. Sometimes you get food falling down here, so we just get our cloth in there and give that a bit of a clean out as well. Wiping down the whole surface to get rid of any of that chemical build-up. You might need to rinse your cloth a couple of times. And it's really as simple as that. Now what we can do is wipe down the back of the oven here, where that perforated area is, just to give that a bit of a clean. And that's it. So that's really it. It's a 2-minute job to do that. The final part of the cleaning process is oven protector. So what the oven protector does is it forms a barrier between the oven sides and the actual food. So anything that sticks to it sticks to this product, and then the cleaner dissolves this product off, which is why it can be so easy to clean, like we've just seen. So again, we spray this gel into the oven, like we just did with the oven cleaner, onto the door, a little bit on the top, and a little bit onto the back of the oven as well. And then just using a paper towel, all we're doing is we're not wiping it in, we're just smearing it over the surface of the oven. So it doesn't matter whether it's all streaky or there's little bits left or anything like that. Obviously if you leave any tissue in there, try to remove that, because that will incinerate otherwise. So that's basically the way the oven's cleaned. That's a nice simple process, only takes a few minutes. What we do now is we can replace our turntable base. We just wiggle that into position. We put our nice clean round tray into the oven and close the door. Now on the oven it's now saying clean cavity. We can tick the door down. We've applied our oven protector, so we can press the tick, and it will now say to remove, clean and replace the air filter. So the air filter is on the front of the oven here, and it's just held on by a magnet. We take that off every day, and again with a clean damp cloth, just clean the inside and the outside of that air filter, just to remove any dust, debris or grime, anything like that. Once you've done that, give it just a little bit of a wipe here and replace the air filter. Once we've completed that, we hit the tick and the oven shuts down. So that basically takes you through all parts of operating the oven, the accessories that should come with the oven, basically how to use the oven and how to clean the oven. The only thing that I need to show you is, in the eventuality that we do have any upgrades to the software or the menus, what you'll be asked to do is we'll be sending out an email which will have an attachment to it, and that attachment needs to be placed onto a USB stick under 2 gigabytes preferably. And what you do is you slide up the Merrychef logo, and underneath there you'll see that there's a USB input device, which we would then basically upgrade the menus using that. So that's your Merrychef oven. Most importantly, enjoy cooking with it. Any troubles or difficulties, any technical issues that you might have, our service call number is 1800 998 125, which you'll find basically on the side of the oven somewhere. So if you've got any problems, please feel free to give us a call. But most importantly, have fun, have a great day. Thank you.